I've been a professional tattoo artist since January of 2009, so about a year and a half since I got licensed.
I've been tattooing for 10 years, last 5 years in New York, 5 years before that in Philadelphia.
I actually started kind of late. I was probably 27 or 28 years old before I ever touched a machine. Most kids who do it start, like right away. Like they always knew they were going to do it. They were born to do it. And people always told me to go be a tattoo artist. Like, you should have a tattoo. That's the way you draw. Go be a tattoo artist. That's what you should do. I always drew my friends' tattoos that they got by somebody else. But I never really did it until I was like 27 years old.
I was getting tattooed, and I've been doing art all my life, and I was getting a lot of my artwork tattooed on me. So the shop that I was getting this done at asked me if I ever thought about tattooing as a career choice. And since I was going to school for cartooning and illustration, I mean, tattooing sounded way better than that shit. So I decided to try to tattoo and everything. I mean, I went through an apprenticeship with them for about 2 years, and then I ended up just starting out on my own.
The thing about tattooing is it's really hard. People think it's one of those things where you can, like, I'm going to go be a tattoo artist, like it's a hobby, like I'm going to go, work in a gym or whatever. It's not like that. You do it every night, you do it every weekend, you do it 40 hours a fucking day, or you don't do it at all. You'll wash out so fast. Even people who want it really bad wash out a lot because your back gives out, your hands give out, whatever it is. Your wife is like, if you ever think about that again, I will divorce you. Things like that. But for some people it works out. For me it worked out.
Back when I started, being an apprentice was one of the most horrible things there is, like, because you pretty much are a gopher for the shop. They're teaching you a profession. You're not getting paid for any of this stuff. So they got you running around, doing your thing. And, like, especially, like, as somebody that's, like, black and wants to learn to tattoo, there's, like, who the hell wants to teach a black kid how to tattoo when most of the people, and it's, like, I'd say a good 89% Caucasian industry. Well, maybe less than that, because there's all over the world. I mean, you go somewhere else, like Europe and stuff like that, there's tattooers everywhere in Japan and all that. But in the United States, it's predominantly white boy thing. So it's hard to find people that trust you and want to teach you to do something like this. And then when you're doing it, it's like, if you're an apprentice and your apprenticeship doesn't work out, where do you go from there? You kind of have to start learning on your own. And it's an uphill battle, and like people think that this is easy, like, oh, I draw well, I can just tattoo. And no, it's not like that. It's like it's a job. Like, you have to dedicate yourself to learning this.
And there's so many things you have to do when you're tattooing, like things you have to know, like make sure your stretch is right, make sure this is happening, make sure you depth. You know what I'm saying? You're so focused on the 85 things you need to know to be doing what you're doing that you don't think about anything.
Or you're going to be bad at it, and you don't have the drive to do it. Think you can do another job and learn everything you have to learn to make a good tattoo and learn like what works and what doesn't work. You're not. You're going to be half-assing it, and it's going to show in your work. And that's something this industry has a lot of people that do. So it's kind of sad, but I mean, that's the way it's been, and it's the way it's probably going to be forever.
A lot of times, like if you go out, like my wife has a corporate job, if you go out and you're meeting like regular people in the regular world, and they say, what do you do for a living? You say, I'm a tattoo artist. You're like a certain sideshow. You might as well have said, I'm Lizard Man. Oh my God, what do you do? Like, how does this work? They have a million questions. People will treat you like a certain sideshow. If it's like people who don't come from that world.
When you got tattoos, you kind of see how people perceive you and things like that nature. Like, just the fact that, no, my tattoos aren't exactly the most visible. I mean, they're all on my arms. I don't have, like, my neck and my hands tattooed, so it's not like something, it's way different than when people have their hands tattooed, their neck tattooed. Like, even as people come into here, they don't think that I'm a tattoo artist because they don't see like heavily tattooed or something.
tattoo industry can be very insular. Like most of your friends are tattoo artists or people who hang out with tattoo artists, musicians. You know what I mean? It's a kind of a creative world because they're the only people who don't care. Like it's not a thing to them. You can be normal with other people who do those sorts of things.
My mom's a teacher, and she believed I should have like a 9-to-5 type job, so guaranteed income and 401k and all that stuff. They didn't really see it as a career that you could make it, that it was a career and not just like something you do, like a job. Which people don't really understand that tattooing is a career. It's pretty much a life thing. I mean, as I was saying, like as any parent that doesn't want to see they have this image of how their child is and what they're going to do with the rest of their life and how things are going to be. And when you start doing odd shit, like getting tattooed and pierced, they start freaking out and they don't know. They just want you to be the way they saw you, not the way that you're going to be. Because sooner or later, they think back to when they were that age and they did dumb things too. And like, oh God, my kid's repeating the same mistakes I am. And like, wow. Or they're doing something that they don't understand. And they're like, I don't understand my child. But I mean, as you get older, they get used to that stuff. Like, there always bugs them out, but I mean, you pierce yourself, tattoo, they kind of have to accept it because I mean, you are their kid. Like, most parents don't disown their children over things like that. People want stuff that I'm like, I don't get it, but yo, it's going on you. Like that's it. Yo, you're the one living with it. I don't pass judgment on it. Like you do you. I mean, I get things tattooed on me that are silly or weird. That's me. And I hate getting tattooed because it's painful as shit.
It does hurt. It is all in your head because it's pain without the damage.
But I mean, like I said, you gotta earn them.
Kinda do.
Yeah.
That's why people are like, well, what if you could do it so like, I was like, if tattoos didn't hurt, I wouldn't give them and I wouldn't get them. I'd be so pissed off I'd quit.
Because then pansies would have tattoos and it would like defeat the purpose.
Yeah, having tattoos does say something about you, and if they didn't hurt or they could just come right off, then they wouldn't say anything about you.
Right.
It wouldn't take a different type of person to get one.
To have them, right.
Like people look at this like it's clothing, and that's a big problem. Like I was saying before about people spend $200 on a pair of sneakers or shoes, but then they want to argue about their tattoo because they don't want to spend that much money on it because they think they're getting ripped off. You might be getting ripped off. You got to check portfolios, check out people's work, make sure you know what you want and how you want it done, and trust the artist to do a good job in what will work for you, but get what you want. So like, don't settle on something. Just be like, if you want to do it this way, and that's the way you want to do it that way. And the artist is like, you shouldn't do it this way. Take it into consideration and why he's saying it. But if that's not the way you want to see your tattoo, just do it your way. Like, you're going to be one that lives with it, so you got to like it. And down the road, you're like, oh, I should have listened to him. Remember, that's why you should probably listen to your artist. We're not trying to have you walk out with something ugly that you're going to regret in 10 years. Because this isn't going to wear off in like a year or two. You're going to be stuck with it for a long time. Yeah. But, you know, it's like you are affecting somebody for the rest of their life, and you have to take into effect that you want to give them the best tattoo you can and deal with them as best you can. And everyone's ideas are different, and you got to just kind of roll with that shit.
Go ahead and do it. I mean, you really don't live that long. People are like, they're permanent, but they're not permanent because you're not permanent. You're not going to be around very long. Go ahead and do whatever you like. People say, well, what are you going to do when you're 80 years old and it's all like faded and it looks blotchy and you look bad? And you say, well, I never really intended on being Mr. 80-year-old America, and if that disqualifies me from the pageant, I'll just stay out. It's not the biggest deal. I think you have better things to worry about when you're that old than whether or not you have green blotches on your skin.